What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Candid Couch. We thank you guys so much for joining us again. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about any and everything and some of our favorite subjects, and we have another good one tonight. We want to thank you guys so much for your feedback. Thank you for all the listens, the follows, the subscribers, the likes. We really appreciate it. My name is Mariah, and I'm joined by my husband.
This is Kip. We really do appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us, and we got a great one for you guys today.
And we're going to start with our question of the day.
All right, the question of the day. What is something you plan to implement in raising your children that your parents did with you?
That's a pretty good one. Let me think. Dang. I would say one of the things that my parents always did from when we were younger, even up till we were teenagers, is Friday nights were like family night. And we would always plan something. My parents would plan something. Like, I can remember there was a time where like we would order pizza and we would each get to like pick our own movie. So like I would pick a movie, my brother would pick a movie, my sister would pick a movie, or like that next Friday we might go bowling, or like the next Friday we might go skating. Like sometimes we might go out to a restaurant. Like hibachi was the spot when we were teenagers. That was like the spot. But like every Friday it was like family time. I mean, unless we had like church or, you know, we wanted to hang out with our friends or something like that. But every Friday night was like family time. And I can remember like us as kids, like being so excited to get out from school, like knowing that it was Friday. And then like waiting for my dad to come home, like waiting to see what he was going to say or what he was going to do, or like, what are we going to do tonight? You know, like it was really exciting. It was definitely something like as a kid, and even as we got older, it was something that you were excited about. It built a bond between us as a family that like we just were close. You know, it's the good thing about having siblings is that like they're your best friends. You know, for a long amount of time they're your best friends, they're your first friends. So like it was really cool just all of us hanging out together. Sometimes my cousins would come over, but you know, even if they didn't, like it was a really good time. It's definitely something I would want to implement with my kids, that we all have time together like as a family.
Yeah, I can definitely second that, because when we first started dating and whatnot, and when I met your family, I kind of got that vibe that you guys were really like close knit, like doing a lot of things, watching movies. You guys were really big for the movies and like getting some good food.
Yeah.
You know, there's a spot around the corner from their house, a pizza spot, that every time I came there, I was like, yeah, we gotta get some pizza from that spot. You know, so that's definitely true. For me, I would say things that my parents implemented. I would say having a relationship with God, like kind of making that very important for your children. So they kind of, you know, wanted us to develop our own personal relationship with God at an early age. So, you know, they brought us to church and stuff, and we was involved in church. And we, you know, I was a musician, my sister was a singer, like we was really involved. So I think for me, like I want my children to have their own personal relationship with God at an early age as well. I'm not going to force it on them, because I feel like, you know, some people, I've heard some stories where their parents really forced it on them, and then as soon as they got, you know, free, like moved out or whatnot, they kind of went buck wild and kind of like went away from what their parents taught them. So I mean, I don't want to force it on her, like, but I want her to develop her own relationship. All I can do as her father, and you know, you as her mom, is to train her up, bring her to church, teach her how to pray, and teach her how to read her Bible and whatnot. But I think those are, you know, important values to have. So I think that's a good one. But that's the question of the day.
So our topic of the day today is becoming parents. I'm sure if you follow us on social media or if you know us personally, it's no secret that we are new parents. Our daughter is 1 year old, and there's a lot of challenges that we've realized that come with becoming a new parent. And I told my mom a couple weeks ago, I was just like, dang, man, like I said, the things that I didn't realize as a kid, I realize now as an adult. Like, you know, I really appreciate everything you did. And I appreciate your sacrifices more the longer that I'm a mother, because like it really shows like how much you did, how many sacrifices you had to make, like how much you went through. Like it's a lot to have to juggle being an individual person, like being me, then being a wife, then being a mom, then working on my career, trying to keep my relationship with God, intact. So it's a lot, and she made it look easy. I'll definitely say that. So it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, but there is definitely some pros. Like I can't tell you how great I felt when they pulled our daughter out. I was just like, oh my god, and I wasn't amazed, but I didn't think I was gonna cry, but
I knew you were gonna
I
cry.
did.
I
I
knew
didn't
it.
think I was.
I knew you were gonna cry.
I really didn't think I was gonna cry, but I did. So I was staring. I was just staring at her when she was crying on the table, and there was the nurses and stuff was cleaning her off, and I mean, I was just like, man, like she's so beautiful, man. That's my daughter. She came from us. Like, we made her. We made her. And then after they, cleaned her up and then they wrapped her up and whatnot, I just was like, wow, I'm holding my child. But I mean, our first experiences, I was just like a hog. When we brought her home, I was a hog. I didn't get any sleep because I was just watching her the whole night, make sure she was okay, make sure she was breathing.
I remember, I think the first night that we got home from the hospital, like I slept for hours. I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know where I was. And every little sound that she made, like I was asleep. And when I tell you this man was up, like just every noise, like every sigh, every cough, every noise that she made, he was just up. But one of the things I want to talk about is like, what was your idea of how childbirth and parenting would go, especially in the early stages, like before entering into it? So, like, my first experience with childbirth was my sister. I was in the room when my sister gave birth to my nephew, and I can remember like watching the entire process. I mean, it's definitely intense, and I can remember thinking to myself, I don't want to do this. This looks painful. It looks crazy. Like, I don't want to do this. But I can remember like after witnessing that, like it being a little bit of a fear of mine, like, oh my gosh, like if I want kids, I'm gonna have to go through this. And obviously, like once we found out we were pregnant, that fear, it was there, but it was like everything that's going to come from this, I know that it's going to be worth it. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was that, like, what was your idea of like childbirth and then like how the process would go in like the really early stages?
I mean, I really didn't think much about it. I guess my first experience, I guess, is when my sister had my nephew. Um, I was there, but then I kind of left the room when it was kind of, really trying to get him out of there. But I definitely was nervous because but for me, for our child, my thought was, okay, we gotta prepare, we gotta, get the diapers and get, and I want to thank all the people that really blessed us with like a lot of stuff and gifts, and they really helped us out. Like we didn't have to buy anything for like months, right?
Yeah.
It was a while. That was a blessing. But I guess my first experience, I was a little nervous, because I'm like, this is my child here, and I'm responsible for her. So I was definitely a little nervous, but I was also extremely ecstatic and happy because it's like this is my baby, like this is my child. I mean, those are my thoughts about it. I think that I mean, I was just super nervous. I don't know, like it was
I
just
think
something
that's
else.
common. I think that's natural to be nervous. I think we were both nervous because like it was like, okay, it was like the overwhelming joy of like we finally get to meet this little baby. This baby is ours. But then you immediately take on that responsibility of like I have to be this child's example. I have to raise
Exactly.
this child. They're going to be looking up to me. I am now responsible. One of the things that I want to say, and to all men, married, whatever, all men that are with a woman or not with a woman, whatever the situation is, like if she's pregnant with your child, like handle every situation regarding her with care. There's so many things that you have to go through, so many things, your body, your mind, everything, your mental health. Like it's a huge sacrifice to bring a child into the world. And I just think we have to be more vocal about how dangerous it is, how stressful it can be, how overwhelming it can be. And just, I really want to put the word out there to men, like definitely be a support because it is definitely difficult. From your perspective, like what did pregnancy look like to you as a man, not being the one who was actually physically pregnant, but as a man, like what did that feel like or look like, or like what were your thoughts about pregnancy?
Well, I'm sure it was definitely for you, very taxing on your body. I mean, you're sharing your resources with, your baby. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I could never understand what you go through because I'm a man. but all I could do is just try to help you the best I can. And I'm not a perfect guy. For our first child, I wasn't like I could have done more. I think I could have done a lot more with my wife during our pregnancy. I think I did okay, but I think I could have, you know, done more. And I think the reason why I kind of struggle with that because the thought of like having a new kid, it was a little it was on my mind. Like, I mean, like, am I ready for this? Can I handle this? Like, I think most men have doubts sometimes. Like, can I really do this fathering thing? Like, I never been a father before. So I think that kind of was like in my mind a lot. So that kind of drew me away a little bit during our pregnancy. But I think I was there, you know, but I think once we got to that hospital, I was like a hog. I don't know, something just clicked and something just snapped, like the light switch just went on. I just stepped up in every way, I think.
But I think that's similar perspectives just from different angles. Like, so you were experiencing mental health things with the pressure. I was experiencing mental health issues with the pressure. You were experiencing stress. I've got this new baby coming. I got to make sure everything is good financially and everything. And I know as the man, like, I can remember when I first told you that I was pregnant, the first thing you said to me, you were happy and everything, but I remember like when you took a moment to like come out of the, I guess, excitement, you were like, man, I got to get a new job. Like, I was on your mind from the very beginning, like, financially being able to provide for this new life. And I know that women, we have our own set of things that we have to deal with in pregnancy. But I know that as a man, like, I know you had a lot to deal with as well. So I just wanted to hear your perspective of it. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about is the transition. So we went from being two people who were dating to being married, and then from being married to now being where it was just us, to now being parents. Like, what would you say to speak to the transition of going from single to married to parenting? Like, what do those transitions look like for you?
I mean, for me, definitely when you're single or just dating, it's like less stress. I think you don't have to. I mean, you gotta still care for your girl, and the little thing, like you gotta take her out and spend time with her and kind of handle her emotions with care and things like that. But I think once you get married, it's a whole different ball game. And I feel like for me mentally, I wasn't really there. Like, it took me a while, and I'm still learning. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning, but it definitely took me. It was a transition for real because I was like, wow, like I can't do this like I used to do. I can't do certain things, or I can't, like, and I don't want to make, paint it to be a negative thing. It's just kind of like, it's a beautiful thing because you're joining yourself with a person that you love. And there's definitely was some pros, but there was some cons too, because like I just felt like the cons were for me, I felt like I wasn't completely ready all the way in my mind. Like I think I wish I would have prepared a little more with some things. But from that transitioning, and us, we actually made an agreement to wait at least 3 years in our marriage so we can enjoy our marriage and just be us. We done got a dog and everything, like, and just had to, just me and my wife for a little bit. And then once that third year came around, it worked out really well, and we got pregnant. And then us having a baby, like I said, at first it was a little, overwhelming because I'm about to be a father. Like, I can't, I gotta be able to provide and this, that, and the other, and protect, and all these things. So I believe the stress level definitely went up from being single to married, and then it definitely went up even more um, from being married to being parents, and you're married because you got to care for multiple people. You got to take care of multiple people. It's on you to take care of the family. You have to lead, and um, I think we all kind of struggle with that sometimes, in certain areas in our lives. But I think that it's we're getting to the point now where, like, we're trying to find ourselves and kind of like, all right, we could be mommy and daddy, but we have to be husband and wife as well. We have to be Kip and Mariah. We have to wear these multiple hats, and like, and manage those hats when we're wearing them. Like, let's enjoy ourselves when we're alone. Like, you enjoy Mariah when you're by yourself. I enjoy Kip when I'm by myself. We enjoy each other when we're in that hat of, we're husband and wife. And then when we're parents, singing that in, having fun with our daughter, like, taking care of business, things like that. It's important not to lose yourself in being parents. And I think sometimes we do that. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I agree. And one of the things that we had a conversation about, even like after she was first born, was like whenever we have a moment to ourselves or whenever we have a date night, try to center the conversation around our relationship and just getting to continue to know each other. I noticed that like when we after she was born, when we would go like and have time to ourselves, we would always end up talking about her or something, around her. And I would be like, okay, maybe like let's talk about something different while we're out and just kind of come out of parent mode and just be us again, back to the way it was, when we were dating, back to the way it was when we first got married. Like, let's, come out of parenting mode just for a pause. And I can remember like that was a lot easier said than done. I remember like he used to call whoever was babysitting, like, "What's she doing? What's she doing?" I'm like, "Worry about what we doing, like she sleep probably. She either drinking milk or she sleep. It ain't really too many things she gonna be doing." But like every once in a while, like, let me call my baby. Let me call see what my baby. No, don't worry about what this baby is doing. Like let's focus on us.
That's my baby girl right there.
He couldn't help himself. But like that was something that we tried to make sure that we did when we were out and we were dating, to just be out and dating and to just be focused on like whatever it was that we were doing and talk about our relationship. I would say the transition from being single to married had its own level of stress. I think there were pros, I think there were cons with any transition. I think there will be. I think into parenting, it was the same. There's a lot of things that you sacrifice, but there are a lot of things that you gain. Sleep was one of the things that, like, I mean, she wasn't bad with sleep, but it was definitely a difference than before. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, like, I think it was more on us than her because she was a good sleeper. But for us, we just like, we became light sleepers after she was born. So it was like every little noise she made, every little sound, we jumped up, and it was hard to fall back asleep.
Right.
So it wasn't necessarily like it was her waking us up, but a lot of times, like, we just took on that role where we were always like 50% sleep. So it came with its own challenges. Being able to separate your time between yourself, your child, and your spouse is already enough. And it's a long day. A lot of times it's a long day having to wear so many different hats. So I would say that is something that comes along, as a stressful component. But I think that the joys of being a parent and being a wife, and even still maintaining who I am as an individual, I think that the joy that comes from that definitely outweighs whatever it is that may, stress.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Um, so like let me ask you this. So what's something that you learned from your parents? You know what I mean?
Something I learned from you mean in terms of like what,
Like what are some
in ways of
things,
parenting?
yeah, like what's something that you saw growing up that you like, wow, that's I'm gonna implement that with my kid, or what you
I would
learned.
say one of the things that I still think about even to this day, I think about it often. Like my parents, like they were very big, are very big on a sense of accountability. Like I can remember like my parents would always say, and it hurt our feelings that they would say this. Literally would hurt our feelings because it was hurtful to us to have to look at our own selves. I remember they used to say things like, "You know better than that," or "You could do better than that. You know better than that. You could do better than that." And it would make us look at ourselves like, man, I'm disappointed in myself for doing things that weren't smart or for doing things that I knew were against what I should have been doing, like doing things that were outside of my character. So when we would do something crazy, like, I don't know, like do something like get into a fight at school, beyond getting in trouble, it was having to look at yourself to be like, I shouldn't have done that. And these are the reasons why I shouldn't have done that. So I think it was hurtful to us to have to look at what we did and take accountability for it. Like I can remember like my dad would sit us down sometimes and like, me and my sister would be bawling, crying after he would talk to us because we'd be like, oh, we never gonna do it again. We're so sorry. Like, and it was really, there was a disappointment in ourselves sometimes to have disappointed them, if that makes sense. Like to know that we disappointed them with our actions was disappointing to us. And sometimes I still like say that to myself, like when I'm not doing what I should be doing, or if I'm not going as hard as I know I can, if I'm not being as persistent or, just being consistent in everything I need to be doing, like if I'm procrastinating or anything, like I still say that to myself, like you're better than this, you know better than this, you can do, you can do this. It's a sense of driving force that I think I have to hold accountability for whatever I've done. And I think that that was very important. That's definitely one of the things I learned from them that I definitely want to put in my kids is like, I mean, I know you can do better than this, or I know you're better than this. Like, you're better than this, like, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And I mean, I feel like that creates an individual who develops like the drive and like I can do this. Like, I get that. Um for me, I would say my parents was really big on they were really loving and they definitely gave a lot of affirmation growing up, like, just great with that. I think, the loving part and just like always there for, I mean, even to this day I kiss my mom and dad on the cheek and hug them. To this day, I'm 30 years old now, and I still kiss my father and kiss my mom.
So is that something that you learn to be like loving and affectionate? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's something I want to be like for my kids. Like I want them to know, I want to love on them, and because every kid don't get that. Every kid don't get the I love you and the kisses. Some kids just get, all right, go to bed, or all right, you know what I mean? Like, so I want my kids to know, like, I love you, and it's all right to say that, even for my son, when we have our son, um, help us, Lord, please. No, but
You and this son.
yeah. So even that, I want my son to be able to say, I love you. And him growing up, and even my daughter, like, I want to be able to show that affection and let them know that I'm here for them. um yeah, I just think that's very important for sure. Another point that I wanted to bring up was discipline. I think it's very important to instill that in your children. For us, well, I can't speak for you, but for me, discipline looked like, I mean, I feel like we had a relationship for my dad, for instance, where all you would have to do is kind of give us a look, like, like if you're in church or something like that, and you kind of playing around, goofing off. My dad was a minister, so he would be up on the pulpit. He would kind of just be like looking at us like from afar, like, all right, you keep playing, go ahead, wait till after church. So I think I would love to have that type of situation where I don't want to have to spank my kids if I don't have to, but I want them to know, like, by just looking at us, to know, like, all right, let me stop playing around, like, you know what I mean? And in terms of discipline, I don't think there's nothing wrong with like a pop on the thigh or something like that, but
Little pow pow.
yeah, a little pow pow, something like that. But when you get grabbing the belt and all that, I don't know, my views have kind of changed on that a little bit. Because it's like, all right, is it necessary to use a, if you, to be honest, like a weapon, like to kind of like make your child listen to you? I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it depends on the age, I guess. I don't know. Like, you have different tactics or methods, but um, I think it's definitely very important. And I think that it's crazy because in this generation, I feel like things have definitely changed and transitioned where children are talking crazy to their parents, to elders.
Cash crazy.
And yeah, exactly. And then there's no repercussions for that. And it's like they grow up with this mindset of like, oh, I can talk crazy. I can do what I want. Like,
I mean,
even
I see it or hear it in the store all the time. Like
yeah,
people like screaming at their parents or
they
like
can't get what they want.
disrespecting them. And I'm like, man, like take me back to my childhood. Like if I would have even thought, like if I would even thought to do that, like it would have been big trouble, like big trouble.
I think most millennial people can kind of second that, because it's like when we grew up, it was different. I think.
It's respecting, I think. It's
Exactly.
respecting. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't dare even like cross a certain line because I know what's gonna happen at the other end of that line,
Right. I feel like, I don't know if children aren't afraid anymore of their parents, or like maybe I don't know, like maybe parents today are trying to be like friends to their kids instead of like parents, because there is a difference. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being cool with your children and like hanging out, but I think there is a fine line where it's like, all right, they can play with you and have fun with you, but they know not to take it to a certain point. Like, all right, I'm still your father, I'm still your mother.
I mean, I think it can be a mixture of like respect and maybe a little bit of fear, like just because I know that there are
That's what I meant. Respect, not
consequences.
fear.
Like, yeah, like I'm
Not
so
fear.
afraid. Like, can I speak?
Not,
Like,
not fear.
put you in a
Respect.
corner with a cup and a slice of bread. Like,
No, no, not fear. Respect. That's what I
you
meant to
got an
say.
F. Sit your tail down. Like,
Yeah.
no. I
Respect.
don't think that. it has to be fair. I think that it's like a, a line between, fear and respect. And I think that it should be respect. And I know like gentle parenting is something that people are trying to implement more and more, of like finding ways to be more gentle in communication and even talking about their feelings. Like I've seen videos on like TikTok and other social media platforms where parents are trying now to talk more through. So like, okay, why did you do this? Okay, it's okay to cry, but tell me, why did you do this? Why is this happening? Why are you behaving this way? And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I've seen different results, but I think now we're getting into more of like trying to be gentle in parenting. And like I said, for some people it works, some people it doesn't. But I think that times are changing where there are different ideas now of what's discipline and what can get you a visit from the cops, I think.
I think I just thought of this. I think with discipline, like growing up for like I guess millennials, you do something bad or you kind of are misbehaving or something like that, and your parents will get the switch out or you get beat or whatever, get a spanking or
Switch.
whatnot or whatever. I don't know. I didn't. They didn't use a switch on me or nothing like that. But if you get a spanking or whooping, that's it, and you kind of like go to your room or whatever. But I feel like that doesn't really solve the problem. I feel like that just puts a band-aid on the temporary issue. Like they feel bad about it and they're in pain because they got a beating. Like I don't want to do this.
Temporarily.
Yeah, but I just feel like if, for instance, if your kid misbehaving in school or if they're doing something where they're always angry or kind of having outbursts and things like that, I think it's very important to have like you just said, the communication. Like I want to be able to communicate with you and kind of pick your brain. Like, why are you feeling this way? Why are you angry? Why are you doing these things? And it may take time to get them to open up if they're a closed book. I think you just need to be patient. And I think that I feel like once you get to a point where they kind of open up, instead of having an approach like back in the day, it would probably be like, "Mom, I don't like this or I don't like that." It was like, "Oh, you're gonna do it anyway." And I understand that if it's good for them, they have to do it. You know what I mean? You gotta tell them to do it. But with other things, like if it's emotional things, like I feel like you don't do this enough. Like, oh, you don't need that. Or go back to your room. Or like, I think things like that, they grow up and they have these like these situations where I wish my mom, I wish my dad, I wish they did, or this, that, and the other, because when they were kids and they asked for it, you kind of like, oh, there ain't nothing wrong with you. Well, you can just go ahead. You just kind of brushed it off. And for us, I really want us to be kind of attentive and I guess aware of those cues where like our daughter comes like, hey mom, I feel like, I don't see you that much, or I don't spend time with you, or this, that, and other. Instead of like, "Oh, I'm here all the time. What you talking about?" Instead of kind of like putting that wall up,
Like
leave.
brushing it off.
Yeah, like because I mean, some kids don't even do that with their parents. But having that door open for them to even come and say that and be vulnerable is a plus. But if that happens, kind of take that in, like, all right, my kid needs me to be around more. They need me to spend time with them, even if just walking in the park with them or taking them to the park or just playing with their toys with them. Like they will see that and grow up like, wow, my mom, I felt this way, and she came and started spending more time with me, or my dad came and started spending more time with me. What do you think?
That's one of the things that I want to hold as gospel. Like their words and their opinions about anything I want to hold as gospel. I want it to be really important to me. But at the same time, I know there has to be a level of respect there. So you ain't finna be challenging me or talking
Right,
back, and stuff
right.
like that. But if you feel a certain way about something that I've done, or something that, I don't know, a situation that you didn't agree with or whatever, we can talk about it. But, don't be, questioning me in the moment, because the authority of a parent is something different than that of a friend. So you have to honor the fact that I have a position in your life to keep you safe. And if it doesn't make sense to you right now, it will as you get older, that I need to keep you safe. I need to make sure that you are well taken care of and that you're safe. And the things you don't understand now, you will later. And I want to apologize to my kids. I want to really make sure that if I've done something wrong, if I did a situation
That's
wrong,
good.
if I handled a situation wrong, look, boo, I was really stressed this morning. It didn't have anything to do with you. I'm really sorry I raised my voice. Just getting into a rhythm of like, if I've done something that wasn't right, just the same way I would apologize to my spouse, I want to be able to apologize to my children, because I want them to really realize how imperfect I am. I don't want them to think that I'm perfect, or like, I make mistakes too, so I want to be able to create a dynamic where we can apologize if we've done something that has offended them, but only if it's in the right. You know what I mean? Like it has to be something that I can truly say I apologize for, and not just because you didn't like the way that I felt about it. Like you're not finna be sneaking out and I'm going to apologize for getting mad. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was gonna say this too. What are some sacrifices like parents usually kind of give up for their children, in your opinion?
Well, the first thing started with the body. The first thing, the first sacrifice was giving this child my body, which was one of the tougher ones. But I would say, as a mother, I can say I've sacrificed so far jobs. I've sacrificed jobs that I've wanted, but it didn't work with the schedule of, who was going to watch the baby and what that was going to look like. Like I've sacrificed my time, I sacrificed my mental health in some ways, and I used to think, when parents say things like, you know how much I've done for you, or do you know how much I sacrificed for you? And you're going to be disrespectful to me, or you're not appreciating what I've done for
I
you.
guess they think about that when the kid acts up.
Absolutely. And I think about it, like I think about it and it's only been 1 year since the whole deal, but like I still think about it like, of all the sacrifice that has taken place. And I can't imagine 18 years from the line, how many sacrifices you have to make. The least you can do is be appreciative of that, all that I've done for you. But I think there's a lot of sacrifices that go in. We've even sacrificed a part of our marriage to be able to give her the time that she's needed from us, the attention she's needed from us. So we've sacrificed a lot of bits and pieces of things that I guess we didn't have to sacrifice before, but there's been a lot of sacrifice, I think. I mean, from your end, what can you say like to that as far as like your sacrifices?
I mean, I can say the same thing. Like, I can say time as well. I guess money as well. I mean, another thing I could say, because I work from home and we are really big on like, like for instance, the daycare thing is just, I don't know, for us, it's just, I feel like it's a waste of money in my opinion. Like I get, yeah, they get to go there and be there, but the cost, I just feel like you're going to pay them all this money for our kid to sit in front of the television. I just like, I don't know about that. So
I mean, they may not sit in front of the television, but right now, like it's just more convenient for us
right,
to do it the way that we're doing it. I mean, eventually we might end up in that spot, but
it's
not
possible,
to say there's
yeah.
anything wrong with daycare.
No, there's nothing wrong with it, but like at a really early age when the kid when she's a toddler or a little younger than that when they can't do much. I mean, like I feel like it's a little waste then. But when they start getting older and they need to socialize and they meeting people and learning things, of course it's a good idea. But yeah, I would say. Oh, I had a point. I work from home, so I think the sacrifice there is kind of doing double duty in a way. Like I have to work or and then I have to feed her lunch or feed her lunch and then kind of like try to spend time with her throughout the day while I'm working or just being aware of her what she's doing, watching her all day, like, while I'm working. So I mean I think that's a sacrifice. Thank God I have a job that allows me to be a little flexible in that way. But I mean, I think it's a little bit of a sacrifice in my opinion.
I think it's a big sacrifice. It is a big sacrifice. Um, so that's one of the things that we can say, like now as parents, that we may not have understood as kids, is that there are a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot that you have to give. There's a lot that you have to take. It's a lot being a parent, and we've only been in this thing for 1 year, so man, I can't imagine, years down the line. But I think that whatever nuggets we take are good. Whatever nuggets we take are important. And I was having a talk with my sister not too long ago. And like we were talking about like the way that our parents protected us from such a cruel, evil, dangerous, and sick world. And things that we didn't understand then we understand now. Like, why we can't go to everybody's house and spend the night. Now we understand as adults, like that's why. Whenever we wanted to go to so and so's house and spend the night, like, no, and we didn't understand it as kids, but like now we understand. As a kid, you may think everybody's your friend. You may think
Innocent.
everybody, yes, you may think the world is a beautiful, crazy, inspirational or place where it's like, I want to do this and I can do that. And I can, all your senses, are lit up as a kid about the world. But when you really grow up, you realize that it's not that, it can be a very dangerous place, sick place, cruel place. There are people out here that will do the craziest of things and sleep like a baby at night. And these are things that we don't realize as children. But like now as an adult, I understand why my parents said no to a lot of things, and why they wouldn't allow a lot of things, because we understand it now, what the world is and how we were protected in that way. So I want to close out with asking you, and then I'll go. What is the best parenting advice that you've gotten thus far?
The best parenting advice is, for one, someone told me enjoy every moment because they grow really, really fast. And I'm definitely seeing that because I mean, I feel like it was yesterday when, I was holding her. She was like a newborn. Now, soon she'll be 1.5, almost 2 years old. That's like, wow, time just flew by. So I would say the best advice I've gotten was enjoy the time and don't take them for granted, basically, kind of enjoy those times, like, make it important to kind of spend time with your kid as they grow up and develop and whatnot. What about you?
I'm sitting here thinking like I'm gonna have to come up with another answer because that's basically what I was gonna say too. Like the best advice that I've gotten is that it goes fast. So take in all of the moments. And it's something I have to constantly remind myself to do because I can get wrapped up in my things, like wrapped up in what needs to be done or what needs to be completed by this deadline. And I don't realize like, oh, man, I haven't spent a good amount of time with my daughter today. Man, I gotta, and sometimes like she'll walk up to me and just like lay her head on my lap and it'll snap out of it, like, oh my God, why am I on my laptop right now? I need to be with my kid, so it's definitely good advice to take in the moments, take pictures, everything happens so fast. Like sometimes I look at her and I'm watching her playing in her room and I'm like, when did all of this happen? Like, how did this happen? You were just a little tiny baby sleeping on my chest and now like you're throwing your baby dolls around the room. Like you're a kid, now you're growing and like it's amazing to watch and to see, but at the same time it's almost startling of like where did the time go? Like how did this all happen so fast? I can remember we used to do the little photo shoot for every month that she achieved. Like we would take a 1 month photo, 2 month photo, and I would always cry after every photo. And my husband would be cracking up at me, but I was always cry at the pictures because I would be like, when did you get so tall? When did you get so big? Like you're growing up. Make it stop. But like now I'm starting to really realize like what that means to be able to take in the moments and be able to really rest in whatever is happening in the present because it does go by fast. So that's what we got for you guys today. Let us know in the comments what's the best parenting advice that you've gotten. What are some of the things you want to implement in your parenting? What are some nuggets for us because we're in our first year? So what are some nuggets? Yeah, just let us know what you guys think. Hit us up in the comments.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Candid Couch, y'all. This was a great episode. We got a great topic here. I know a lot of people deal with some parenting things and they have different experiences and whatnot. But we want you guys to leave some comments, leave some comments, share, like, subscribe. Please subscribe, guys. Come on, let's build our family over here, right? Follow us on Instagram at the Candid Couch Podcast. Also on Facebook with that same name, the Candid Couch Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another episode, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.